Did we do it? Are we live again? Every time it's a miracle. How are you guys doing? It's been an entire Christmas break or winter holiday, whatever you celebrate. And it was fun. I really needed a break. Really happy to have had some time away, chill out, relax, and get back to streaming and the YouTube stuff. Developing a digital ethics is our goal for the year. We've got a lot of cool stuff. I mean, okay, not our goal for the year. That's a long-term goal. Hello, Michael. How you doing? Um, but it is definitely something we're bringing into view this year because well, last year was just a mess. Last year I just did stuff. Didn't really have an identity for the channel other than kind of vaguely Linuxy things, and then smartphone stuff, and then things happened, and now we're working on a digital ethics. That's our game plan. Only 1 minute in, indeed. We just started. How's it going, Oliver? Love your content. Oh, thank you so much. Let's go. This class is boring. What class are you in? We have so much stuff to talk about, to catch up on. I also need to get my stuff together, stuff in order. I did my best to keep Psychology 12. Ooh, cool. What's like the major topics of Psychology 12 or 2? Is it 2? Um yeah, I have a bunch of stuff I need to get in order. Because I basically did nothing over the break. Yes. So the our friends at Zima saw the Zima stream and thought it would be cool if they sent the Zimaboard too. So we're going to be taking a look at that probably this stream and the next stream because it's pretty cool. I haven't actually loaded this up yet, but I'm pretty excited about it because I didn't get to try Zima OS in its like full capacity, right? I think I threw it on a VM. It was kind of a mess. My use of it. So I'm excited to see it the way it's supposed to be done. So we're going to be exploring that a little bit. I'm going to harvest some hard drives from another PC I've got laying around, and we're gonna poke through that. We're also gonna probably take a look at their phone app because I have been interested in backing up things like photos and files from phones quickly and easily, particularly because my girlfriend wants to move her photos onto something safely, securely, and private, and all of that stuff. And the Zima OS app seems like a good way to do that. So we're gonna play with that and see how it goes. 12, like grade 12. Oh, right, not in grade 12, but only option they offer for my school. Main topics right now are about senses and how we can't trust them. But we're just watching movies right now, so it's boring. Ah, I see. Mm, very cool. Um, Bring the Snow Monster. That's a fun name. Maybe more of a personal question. How do you sustain your optimism in the creepingly invasive digital age? It's easy for one to have blind hope, of course, but it seems to only be easier if you are computer literate. And then all right, so let's talk about that because that's something I think about a lot. Um, Saw Network Chuck's video on it. Nice. Do things securely while exposing services to the internet. So Zima has like a little peer-to-peer networking thing that it builds in, like gives you things that are similar to Tailscale, so you don't have to expose stuff to the internet, which is fantastic. So I'm really excited about that. He put Proxmox on it and also connected an extra NIC via the PCI slot. He put Proxmox on his Zimaboard too. Interesting. Okay. Hmm. Well, we'll see what we do with it. Hey, how's it going? How's it going, Kevin? All right, so let's answer this question because I think this is a good one. Like, how do you? So the question was, how do you sustain your optimism in the creepingly invasive digital age? Um, and then without taking a blind optimism stance. I think that's a really good question. So doing stuff is better than not doing stuff, indeed. So, oh man, how do you do that? How do you maintain optimism? Well, I think there are some there. You, so I think there are two approaches. One is, what does optimism afford you? So you ask. So one of the things I do, which is maybe not a popular stance, is ask which of these stances has better affordances for the way that my life will play out. Because that feels not evidence based, and it feels like a lot of the time what we should be doing is looking at evidence. So like, is the world actually terrible? And we ask the question yes, we answer the question yes or no, and then we infer if we should be optimistic or pessimistic based on that. I think that's one approach, and we'll talk about that too. But the approach that I think is less common is asking what stance makes me a better person, in terms of like, allows me to grow, allows me to be more kind, and all of that kind of thing. And so I take the optimistic stance in large part because when you are optimistic, you are more likely to take action in the world in some ways, because you can be optimistic that it'll have the intended effect. I think when you're optimistic, there's a lot of stuff that happens about your psychology where you tend to be, well, more likely to act, kinder to others, that sort of thing, right? So you get this sort of virtuous cycle that happens when you're optimistic, whereas when you're pessimistic, a lot of that is flipped. And so you feel your agency start to narrow, you take less action in the world, you view things like, when somebody cuts you off in traffic or something, instead of making the optimistic assumption, which is like, wow, that person like really had to go to the bathroom, or like maybe their child is feeling unwell and so they really had to rush home and they made some decision. That's a much nicer belief, right, than the alternative, which is like, that person's an asshole. Um, and they are both equally likely. And so taking either stance is kind of, you can make a case for selecting optimism for its affordances. Now, obviously, you can't do that blindly, as you mentioned. But I do think there's good reason to believe that, like, things things can always get better. Like, there are a lot of things that are like miracles of the internet, right? Like, the fact that I can communicate with my loved ones across the ocean is incredible. That's a miracle of the internet. A lot of the data processing stuff that we do is making medical advancements and things like that. So there's a lot of positives bundled in with technology. Um, and then I also hold a belief that, like, things can always change, right? That's one of the constants in the world, is that things are always changing and we can always have some influence on them. Some of the worst tyrannies of all time have been toppled, right? Like, this happens over history. So even if we think that we are the worst tyranny of all time, which I don't think is the case, but even if we did believe that, then we could still be optimistic that that's something that could change. And so I think I bundle all of that together, right? And then there's been some, like, positives that have happened sort of recently in science, right? Like, you know, there have been positive changes in the climate, like the ozone layer slowly healing and things like that. And it's like, yeah, when we accept something to be truth and we start to take action in a positive direction, that plays out. And so we are in a position now where we're collectively, as a society, we are acknowledging the trouble, the pain of social media and various and like capitalists or surveillance capitalism and stuff like that. And so I have faith, I believe, not faith in, like, in terms of like, I believe without evidence. I think there is evidence that people will make change when they see that this is something that needs to change. So that's kind of that's where I take that. That's how I take an optimistic stance. Yeah. Anyways, sorry, I was not looking at chat, so I'm gonna take a look into this. I'm sorry, I'm not that into Pokemon. Hey, Nick. Or happy music. I like this answer as well. Watch the Primogen vibe code with Claude Code to gain back some confidence in a career decision. I need to start doing YouTube so I get free stuff too. It's fun. I love getting free stuff. Analog shifts. Hey, homie, hope you're well. Just wanted to say I'm super excited for your journey with digital ethics. This is exactly the topic I've been thinking about exploring too. Yes, I think a lot of people are thinking about this right now. Because I think the assumption for most of the 20th century was progress in technology will inevitably lead to good outcomes for people, right? And that was a fairly reasonable assumption, given that technological advancement had extended the lifespan dramatically over the past like 200 or some odd years, right? Like, I'm not a historian, clearly, right? But we had seen evidence that technological advancement was good. But now we're at this, I think we're at a stage where the most important question is not what can we achieve? It's how can we use technology to foster well-being among people, right? Targeted design of technology instead of just asking broadly, what can we do? Let's make it happen. So I think that's coming together. What do we got? What else we got? The latter is more what I'm looking for. Yeah, makes sense. Hey, Sarah, how's it going? I'm ripping DVDs to Jellyfin, but the process and library management are tedious. A large library creates Netflix's paradox of choice problem. How do you approach media management? That's a good question. I haven't had that problem yet because I haven't like I don't torrent. I don't like I buy all of my media, so I haven't gotten so much media that I have the paradox of choice. This is actually one of the reasons I don't torrent. And I'm not saying that you do, so, whatever. Um, but one of the reasons I choose to purchase my media, at least with regards to like TV and movies, music is a different beast. That's there's just so much music that I want to listen to. But with movies and TV, by forcing myself to slow down, by forcing myself to pay for things, then I accrue a collection much slower, much more intentionally. So that's been my approach. But I mean, you're ripping deep. Sorry, I've got a fire alarm going. That's awesome. Not putting Linux ISOs on your Jellyfin server? Only Big Buck Bunny. From my perspective, I feel like optimism can come from necessity to want to do something as well as act, and alongside the opportunities the digital age gives individuals. Ozone example is a good point, pretty much the quintessential reference for being optimistic. Thanks for the input. Yeah, I'd agree. Hey, Kyle, how's it going? I moved my YouTube subs solely to Jellyfin, now using Tube Archivist, mostly off this platform, besides the occasional live stream now. Oh, I've been thinking about doing something similar, because I haven't been... Can you guys hear that? I hope not. Anyways, I haven't been watching a lot of YouTube lately, but there are some specific things that I want. There's like a lecture series by a philosopher and cognitive scientist, John Vervaeke, who I really like. And I want his lecture series and a couple of other things, but yeah. Um, I haven't been in need. Sorry, I'm looking for where my camera is focused. I haven't been in need of like a subscription feed lately, which is a weird transformation. I didn't ever expect to kick my YouTube habit. I thought after the 50-day declutter that I did that I would be back to normal afterwards, but no, I think I did it. So that's something. Um, so yeah. Anyways, all that to say, I haven't prioritized the Tube Archivist thing because I haven't had as much of a need for YouTube lately. I have a buttload of physical DVDs, so I want to preserve the media before disc rot affects them. That makes sense. But I feel more overwhelmed with the process than the media itself. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Because, yeah, ripping movies takes so long. And then the media management, oh my God, I don't blame you. Um, I think maybe the best thing would be the approach that I would take if I were faced with that concern would be to pick a couple of favorites and start there and not worry about completing the collection, right? Like, if your second least favorite movie in your collection disc rots and you can't watch it, is that gonna be worse than um, like anxiety that's being caused right now by dealing with like this feeling that you have to capture the entirety of your collection? If if that's worse, then you should, yeah, I mean, I think make that comparison and then choose for yourself what the right thing to do is. Philosophy YouTube, do you like theology as well? Uh, yes, I have been starting to explore some theology. So for context, I grew up like an angry Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens atheist, right? I was like very aggressively anti-religion. And I've been like softening over time as I've been trying to like introduce wisdom practices into my life. and sort of realizing that a lot of religious ritual and things like that are really various forms of wisdom practice, and so I've gained a lot of respect for that. So I'm sort of starting to look a little bit more into that kind of thing. It's kind of fun. I'm trying to slowly kick my YouTube habit, but it's one of the few things I really like, so not interested in detoxing completely. That's fair. I noticed that, so for me, I noticed that there were very few things on YouTube that I liked, and I was sort of watching out of just to kill time or because I felt that I had to. Um, and so for me, it's been really positive. But like, if there's some YouTubers that you really enjoy, then have at it. There are a few people that I would watch guiltlessly, shamelessly. Like if when Michael Reeves puts out a video every 6 months, yeah, I'm like super excited. I find his videos hilarious and fun, and it's a good time. VLC app on the Apple TV partially solves this as you can shuffle media. Ooh, just pick what you want to watch the most, and then everything else will play randomly after that. Brainless night TV. Still want my favorites too. Yeah. On intentional media consumption, everyone needs to quantify their attention per dollar quotient. Time is no longer money, attention is. I mean, so I'm all for thinking about attention, but I am very cautious of translating things to money. Um, Money is not the greatest good that there is, right? This is an external good that we can use to secure security, um, other material needs. But at the end of the day, like I don't measure. I would be cautious of measuring things in terms of like potential wealth. Have you heard of the Church of the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? They're here for you. Don't give the Mormons your phone number. They've been calling me for weeks. It's funny, I've becoming more anti-religion as I get older. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. So like for me, I'm trying to view it as a neutral practice, right? So um I think from almost any source you can glean some sort of knowledge or wisdom. And because I've been so anti religion throughout my life, there's a lot of new stuff that I can sort of learn from, sort of by engaging with like this year I'm doing Christian texts. So I've got like a 365-day Bible that I'm reading through. And I figure like even in the scenario where there's nothing valuable there for me in terms of like practices I can bring into my own life or new perspectives, I'd at least learn a lot about references made in media, right? Like so many great books and things are making references to various Christian stories, and so at least I'll understand more. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. I found that when I stopped watching videos, with a few exceptions, I don't really miss it, and I scroll through the sub list, very little actually interests me. Yeah, that's been what I've been finding as well. Anything by Hank Green is an exception. Fair. I think my English teacher would kill me for the semicolon usage. It's easy to say when you've never worried about food or shelter, though. Yes, which is why I made the caveat, right? Like, um, I that's why I made the caveat that like when you have like money is useful in insofar as it secures you those necessary goods that like sustain you, food, shelter, and so on. But once like a certain level of safety and then comfort is achieved, right? There's like the money is just what else does it do for you? I don't or maybe the question is more like if you spent all of that attention securing more money once you again with the caveat of you've achieved a certain level of security, then maybe that attention could have been spent better elsewhere, on loving your family or spending time doing a hobby or something like that. It's kind of where I've been thinking. I grew up very Catholic, but anti-religion at this point. Hate organized religion. That's fair. Yeah, I mean that's like my dad sort of comes from that like background, right, where he's like grew to be anti-religious based on like sort of hateful um, thing people who were religious and hateful, and he was disdained that hate, right? And that, yeah, that I can respect. I don't think I'll be participating in any organized religion anytime soon. Um, so would one of my favorite authors. Got to be a complete sentence after a semicolon though. It's a useful tool, but I honestly not always the best choice. Fair. Hey, plus, how's it going? So yeah, lots of interesting stuff going on. I'm very proud of this. Sitting in a Catholic school right now. I never thought I would be on stream discussing Christianity, but here we are. I did finish this chonker over the break, and it was fantastic. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but like I am very glad that I took the time to read the Nicomachean Ethics as a sort of starter point for me beginning to think about digital ethics. Um, I wish I had more to say other than, wow. I guess I haven't spent enough time thinking about what I think about this yet, but I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to glean, and in terms of how this impacts even things like doom scrolling. I think I want to write an article titled something like "What Aristotle Taught Me About Doom Scrolling," just because I think that would be funny. But I think there's some interesting terminologies to make use of, and his virtues of like continence and temperance map nicely onto the sort of habitual behaviors. And then also there's Aristotle's, topic of our concept of habituation, which plays nicely into the doom scrolling stuff. So I think it'll be useful. It'll develop my thought a lot as I continue to mull it over and engage with this. Excellent. It is good to read, but I have things I don't agree with. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's I would be shook if I managed to agree with everything said by a guy who lived 2000 some odd years ago. But like the framework, I think is surprisingly applicable given the distance in time, right? Um, and there's some really interesting work. There was somebody sent me an email on a book that was like it had to do with virtue ethics as applied to the digital age. And I'm very much looking forward to it because I think virtue ethics as an approach to ethics probably probably going to be a solid place to start as opposed to something like deontology or something like that. So should be fun. Um, what do we got? Wait, Nathan is in college still. Where does he find the time to do all of this reading? I am not. I was doing a PhD last year, and then I dropped out. So I'm working. I've been working part time, but I'll be going back to full time starting in February. Um, I read when you don't doom scroll, you can read a lot. That was my discovery. So that helps a lot. Organized religion is just community in a box, and as an atheist, I think we still don't really have a better alternative. I'm doing my part running D&D 4 times a week, but it's very early days. Yes, I agree with that. That is one of the major benefits of organized religion is the fact that it binds you to a community. Um, that's incredibly valuable, and I would also agree that we don't have like clear secular alternatives yet, because even in so your D&D thing is admirable, and I really want to run D&D with some of my friends. We have been trying to get this together for months, but like the fact that it also bundles in like moral education and like through your religious like leader, there's sort of like an embedded person who can do therapeutic type stuff. That there's a lot of potential value there. There's also a lot of potential for that to go awry, but I find that interesting, and I am curious about like, well, where do secular alternatives for that come about? How do you even frame that without creating a cult by accident? Very interesting stuff. Thanks for recommending MicroTik a while ago. I switched my home to 10 gigabit Ethernet now, and their router OS is a Geek Stream. Ooh. Um, do you have a recommendation to start? I read some pieces in my world religions class, but I have a feeling the teacher cherry picked it. Also, don't look Aristotle's views on women's teeth. Yeah, yeah. Looking great with the haircut, bro. Ah, thanks. Work for Loblaws? Hmm? Funnily enough, the world church literally means assembly. Um, what was the PhD focus? Smartphone addiction interventions. So I was looking at like digital interventions to reduce problematic smartphone use, which is why the YouTube channel is the way that it is. D&D's most terrifying monster, scheduling conflicts. Truly. Why did you drop out of your PhD, if that's not too personal? Yeah, no, fair enough. So basically, there are a lot of things there. Basically, like the big thing is one, it was a mess. the lab that I was at was very chaotic and it didn't work out for a lot of students. I'm not going to go into that because I don't want to dive into the territory of like slander or anything, but it was chaotic and it was not conducive to my success and was also not conducive to a lot of people's success. Um, on top of that, I'm not like at the time, maybe moving forward, I'll make a better scientist. I don't know. But at the time, I was not. I was much more interested in sort of like building the compute infrastructure for the researchers around me to do their research and sort of helping them do stuff. So I was a better engineer than I was a scientist. Um, and so I just found myself a position doing research engineering, which is the exact same thing, but now I get paid more for it. So um, that was really the gist of it. I think now that I've found this question, like diving into digital ethics, I get the feeling that if I could ever get YouTube and like a side business to the point where it makes enough money to live off of, I would happily go back and do a PhD exploring digital ethics. But that's something that's 5 years down the line. Oh, no, I work I have a contract at Autodesk that's part-time right now. So I work 3 days a week, but in February I'm going back to full-time. Hey, how's it going? Matty Games says, question, what do I do while eating? Nothing, just like staring, or is YouTube fine? Um, Good question. So, I mean, obviously it's up to you. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. I found that when I stopped watching YouTube videos during lunch, two things happened. Either one, um, I just enjoyed daydreaming while I ate, and that was actually pretty pleasant. Or two, I was like, I knew I would be super bored, and I would like hit up a friend and call them during lunch. Or like, I live with my girlfriend, and we both work from home, so often we'll spend lunch together, that kind of thing. So I find the fact that I know that it's going to be boring is often is often an initiator for some social interaction, which is really nice. The less I have digital media available to me, the more I find that I fill my time with social interactions, which has been freaking fantastic for my mental health. Like I I started calling my friends a little bit more. There's a few that I haven't yet, and I really want to, but I've been busy for the Christmas break. But I've had a couple of phone calls. Nick in chat, who I've called a number of times. My friend Jake, I had a nice long phone call with before the break. We caught up. It had been months since we talked. And I came off of that phone call just elated. Like it was so nice to just connect with a friend. And so, yeah, I think using those open periods that you would fill with like YouTube as an excuse to call a friend or spend lunch with them or schedule lunch with somebody is huge. That's one of the benefits of not letting yourself sort of go into YouTube. But again, like I want to be clear, I'm not here to like shame anybody, right? Like whatever ends up being the best practice for you is best. Um, but I do think that in general, as a rule, it probably is better to sort of not engage with YouTube over lunch. So that's my stance. Phone calls feel good. Yes, agreed. Um, Watching this on my smartphone in bed, just waking up. Fair enough. Would recommend Rami and Mo for exposure to contemporary Muslim culture belief structure. It was fascinating as an atheist who was raised barely Catholic. Interesting. Okay, I might give that a look. I like eating with people to the best of my ability. I'll go out of my way to do so, or if I'm alone, I'll usually watch some type of long form content like YouTube or a show I'm getting to. Cool. Maybe being a scientist is just the friends we met along the way. Indeed, I did make a lot of friends along the way. So there's that. And I did learn a lot about just kind of how to be an academic, which is one of the reasons I'm like able to read books like this in the way that I'm able to read them because it is really quite challenging, right? Like there's just here's as a demonstration, right? So hereabout is where the actual content of the book ends. I'm trying to give you like the width of it. And here, come on, Nathan. You can orient yourself towards a camera. Is the glossary and notes. There's so much background and specific terminology that you kind of get used to as an academic learning specific terminology of a field. That in this, it was very helpful to have that background. Um, Autodesk, like the people who make Maya and Fusion 360, that's the company. Yeah, that's the one. They have a big research division, mostly with HCI and graphics, right? And I did HCI at when I was at U of T, right? So the smartphone addiction stuff was in the space of human computer interaction. Regular phone calls are so underrated. A loved one is in AA, and that's such a key part of the structure. For example, yes, yes. Um, it just makes such a massive difference when you can interact with people regularly. I'm starting to realize, like, one of the signals. I've been thinking a lot about the like feelings and how we interpret them as signals as how to behave and signals to behave in one way or another, right? So, for example, if I feel anxious, that becomes a trigger to behave in certain ways. Now, I could use it as a trigger to shy away from whatever is making me anxious. For context, I've had anxiety my whole life, and I've been working on dealing with that. And so I'm talking about my personal experience here with anxiety and worry, right? So I can use that feeling of anxiousness as a trigger to shy away from whatever is causing me anxiety, or I can use it as a trigger to start working on something. That's a behavior I practiced over time, learning to start working on things so that I don't procrastinate out of anxiety, and things like that. But I've been realizing that a lot of the feelings I interpret as a trigger to do nothing, right? Like sit on a couch or watch TV or things like that, are better interpreted. I'm having a lot of trouble speaking today. Are better interpreted as triggers to be social. Now, obviously, that doesn't apply universally, but the more I've been behaving as if things I thought were exhaustion are actually triggers to go be social, the happier I've been. And actually, the more energy I've felt I have. Um, so that's been interesting. I don't know exactly how to, like, what the psychology behind that is yet. I am reading um, Surfing Uncertainty, Prediction, Action, and the Embodied Mind by Andy Clark, which is like a cognitive science book on predictive processing, which is a new, like, unifying theory of cognition and various other things. Um, and I think there's going to be some interesting things to pull from that to inform our digital ethics. And the way that I'm thinking about how to interpret it, how best to interpret my own feelings to trigger certain behaviors. So we'll explore that more later. What else we got? I loathe texting on phones and wish more people would start phone conversation. Yes, I agree. I completely agree with that. I don't text anymore except to do logistics, like, hey, are you at the place yet? Or do you want to meet tomorrow at 6:30? But I don't have conversations over text anymore. Um, I used to be on my phone texting all day long. Um, and that sucked. I didn't realize how much it sucked. Having a phone call, way better. Way better. Can you adopt me so I can become a legacy to U of T and I can get in? Well, I'm not a real alumnus, right? Is that the right? That's the singular of alumni, right? I think so. Because I dropped out, right? So I don't think they count me. I wish I could help you. I would enjoy your job. I think you would. I think it's been super fun, and they're putting me. One of the things I might get to do this year, I hope, is like mentoring a bunch of the PhD interns we get, and I'm so looking forward to that because I love teaching and mentorship. I think it would be so fun. So I'm looking forward to that. I have one friend where we just call each other instead of texting. It's the way to go, man. Introvert turns into extrovert, or extrovert discovers they're an extrovert. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm still like I'm very 50-50. Um, somewhere down the middle, right? I think I don't know. Even if you're an extrovert, though, you need a certain amount of social interaction. Like there are no humans that don't need social interaction. Um, and so whether or not I'm an extrovert or an introvert, I lay somewhere on that spectrum, and the amount of social interaction I've been getting recently has been better for me. You know what I mean? Interesting sounding book, but prob way over my head. This one is particularly tough. Predictive processing is one of the reasons. So one of the reasons I'm reading it is because I do believe that it has certain really interesting affordances for developing the digital ethics that I want to develop. But also I have like a personal interest in that. My girlfriend uses a lot of predictive processing in her research, and so I just want to understand that better. However, Kyle, if you are interested, um, Andy Clark has some more like pop science in the same regard. I'm gonna go grab it for you. I got you. So, um, this is the experience machine, how our minds predict and shape reality. So this is in to demonstrate the difference, right? Like I've started realizing that if a book is shaped like this, it's probably an academic text, right? It is oriented towards the academic audience. But this is like the Cal Newport equivalent of predictive processing, right? Like it is just a very accessible way into the material without having to do like Bayesian probability and all of that kind of crap. So I think that I'm looking forward to reading this as well, but I want like the scientific lens deeply because I don't know. I think it would be cool. There's some really cool people in the space looking at digital ethics and how you can sculpt your digital environment as part of your home to cultivate certain virtues or behaviors. Using predictive processing as a lens, Mark Miller and one of his students are looking at this. And I want the predictive processing background because I would very much love to start like an interview series with some of these researchers. And Mark Miller is super cool. Like the guy is so cool. So I would love a chance to get to talk to him. He does some stuff at UFT and with UFT people. There's a way for me to actually get to talk to him, but I don't want to waste his time, right? So I want to know what I want to at least know some of the groundwork before I have this conversation with him. So should be cool. I almost exclusively talk with people via text, but not SMS. Ah, fair enough. Do you text or call? Text to call or just cold call your friends? I love the idea of calls, but I think I'd be so annoyed being interrupted. Ah, fair enough. So some of my friends I just have a relationship with where I'm like, it's fine if I call them, and they're also like, we understand that if I don't pick up or if they don't pick up, we'll just call back, right? It's not like a you have to answer me. I have some relationships where if I call or if they call, my assumption is it's an emergency. So you just sort of hash that out depending on which friends you're talking to. Feel like voice notes is also a good middle ground. Voice notes for I think I may have for talking to people. Yes, probably. Nice. I'll add it to my list. If you believe in New Year's resolutions, what are some for this year, or just what are some goals for 2026? Ooh. Okay, so I actually thought a lot about that this year. One of the things that I spent the bulk of December thinking about was how I want to develop my character throughout the next year. So uh, naturally, right? So I'm thinking about character, right? And yeah, right. Um, but I think it's an important thing to like genuinely stop and think about your character. And that's my biggest goal for 2026. I'll talk about specifics shortly. I have a couple of other goals. So as you all know, we launched the beta cohort of the digital declutter like web app. So I'm looking to spring that into intentional tech as a company. So that's one goal. I'm giving like the practical goals before I give like the meat and potatoes, because really what I'm focused on this year is character and reading to develop character. Um, so yes, there's that. I would love to get hired full time. That would be my dream, like as a full time employee, not as a contract worker who works 40 hours a week. That would be nice too. However, that's kind of not within my power. What's within my power is to do the best job I can, which I am already trying to do. Um, what are other things that aren't on the list? Really just want to continue developing the digital ethics through the YouTube channel. I think I'm going to relax a little bit about pace. I was really worried for a time about like one video a week, but I think what's more important is that I make good videos. And if that means 2 to 3 videos a month, that's better. I'm not in a rush to hit 1 million subscribers or anything. You all are all I need. Subscriber and audience and community wise. We don't need that many more people. So if we're building the ideas for this group of people, that's good. I'm not in a rush to grow that way. But yes, for 2026, I do believe in New Year's resolutions. I think they're a useful thing to do, especially if you have, if you build up ways to make sure that you follow through. And I also believe that if you followed through for 2, 3 months, that's better than 0 months. So there's that. Um, but yes, I have dedicated this year to developing 3 virtues. I'm calling them faith, humility, and patience. Faith, not in a like a religious way, but more like faith in the goodness of people. Um, because I grew up as an anxious person. I grew up very pessimistic. I often assume that people are being mean or ignorant, right? Like that's what's happening. If I feel slighted, I assume somebody was malicious or or ignorant. And that's not a good assumption. That's not a good way to be. Um, so faith in the goodness of people. Um, that's I've been working on that and I've already been noticing a lot of changes. I'll tell you what my specific practices are later. Um, Humility, that's a big one. Mostly because I'm very rigid in the way that I think about things. And so I've been sort of meditating on specific beliefs that I've had that turned out to be wrong or limited in some way, which gives me a lot more flexibility. Like it's cultivating a flexibility of thought. So it's okay if I'm wrong and to be open to being wrong more often. That's been nice. And then patience, again, as an anxious person, one of my biggest struggles is everything feels urgent to me all the time, right? I always feel like I have to make more videos, I have to read more books, I have to work harder, I have to go faster, right? And I've been trying to think about like, well, assuming that I live the average human lifespan, right? Is there room to breathe? can I can I accept that things will take time and that I'm making progress and learn to be a little bit more patient with myself and let that carry out to others as well? Those have been the 3 things that I've been working on and I'm dedicating to this year. And I think it's already helping. I think it's already helping a lot. Um, got my first pair of reading glasses a week ago, only needed for books. Now I feel as old as I am. Funny story. It was ridiculously windy in Toronto this like over the break. And one day my girlfriend and I are walking down the street, like midtown Toronto. So busy intersection. We're walking down the street and the wind is blowing so hard that I have to lean into it so as not to fall over, right? Or get pushed into the street. And my glasses whipped right off of my face straight into the intersection. So I heard them smash against the concrete and then get crushed by cars. And I have been without glasses for like 2 weeks now. So that's fun. Luckily, I can't see distance, so I'm fine in front of me, but it has been annoying not being able to see. Most of my relationships are blind call equals emergency, whereas hey busy is negative response, then call means it's hey let's chat. Yeah, fair enough. All 35 of us. I'm on the initial process of a master's degree. Oh, cool. And my research led me to your channel. I'm talking about the excess of screens on the starter years of school and the effect in the math educations. Ooh, that's really cool. Your reflections and experience with digital minimalism are helping me start writing. Greetings from Brazil. Please feel free to email me more about that. That sounds really interesting. I've had my faith in people crushed so many times that in the last few years, I've switched to assuming people are malicious and until otherwise indicated. Yeah, that's fair. I think I'm very fortunate to have a lot of really nice people around me, and I'm also this is where my optimism I think comes through because I've had a number of not so great interactions in my history, um, but I think I'm choosing to cultivate this belief because I think it will lead uh, not with the not pairing it with like a naive um reliance or trust of others, but simply but trying to assume okay, even if somebody does me wrong and even if it is intentional, maybe I can think about the context and maybe that will help me be like help me be healthier in the long run, right? Like if I'm slighted by somebody and I ask, well, were they extremely stressed and some other combination of factors, right? Maybe that would help me. I'm not sure, but it's a gamble I'm taking. But yes, fair enough. I default to the assumption that people are lazy and ignorant, but not really mean. That's yeah. I think the way that I've been framing that, the like people are lazy and ignorant thing, is I've been framing it more like people have narrow motivational frames, right? So and within their narrow bands, they're generally pretty motivated and knowledgeable. But like, for example, if you take me, right? I'm highly motivated and engaged and knowledgeable. Well, knowledgeable is a debate about this digital ethics stuff that I'm doing, right? Or home labbing, for example. And again, highly knowledgeable is debatable. But knowledgeable enough and interested and highly motivated. Let's say that. But if you took me into the sphere of politics, I'm lazy and ignorant, right? But does that mean I'm lazy and ignorant as a person? It's like, that's not a global trait. It's more like I have a thing, and everybody has a thing. And if we assume, instead of like a trait level lazy and ignorant, we assume, well, their motivational framing just isn't there. It's on a different thing. Then we kind of get like a goodness of people without a naivety. And that's kind of nice. That's the way I've been thinking about it. I spent 35 years doing that and got beaten down my whole life for it. I really, really tried. That's fair. I'm sorry to hear that. 100% urgency all the time. It's like time compresses in on itself. It does. It does. It feels like that. I found I found oddly enough, the less that I assign myself to do, the more that I do, and I do it not out of urgency, but out of love and interest. And that's been fun. Dean Spade references the tool of asking what else is true in love in a fucked up world. That I mean, yes, what else is true is a good way to phrase that. But yes, those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts about the year, and I'm very excited. I have a lot of reading to do. That's one of the things I've been working on. Actually, let's have a little fun with that. So I'm moving to some new productivity tools. I'm trying out AnyType because it's open source. Well, it's source viewable, which is better than Notion, right? So, but I wanted a Notion-like interface because I was very good at managing my stuff that way in the past. So we'll play with it. I realize, you know, I'm gonna still stick to my Markdown stuff for technical notes, but I think for keeping track of collaborations and sponsorships and things like that, I'll probably move. Humanparts.medium.com/laziness. Ooh. I'll open that up. But laziness does not exist, but unseen barriers do. Yes. Sarah, you always have such great links to share and articles and things. Very grateful for that. Okay, so let's take a look at some stuff. So if this is my Goodreads, which I've been, he says, not logged in. I'm gonna plop this over here and do the login, and then I'll come back around. I want to share my reading list for this year. How do what is my Goodreads email? Which account do I use? Okay, cool. Good. The correct one. Okay. So, this is as part of my practice of like cultivating various virtues and exploring Christianity and all sorts of interesting things that I'm up to. I have got 2 reading lists for the year. I'm trying to read one attention economy related book and one of the Western canon per month, as well as I'm going through the Bible one episode at a time. I've got this like 365-day Bible that I'm reading. Really interesting. I was surprised. Like I also read Hesiod's Theogony, and there's a lot of really interesting parallels between that and Genesis, and that was kind of cool. So I've been very surprised. It's been kind of cool. So first things first, the attention economy stuff I think is probably the most important stuff. I'm a collector of information, indeed, and you succeed at it. So let's take a look. Goodreads. Oh yes, Kyle, you have an alternative, right? What is the thing that you also look? Why is Goodreads so slow, man? Gotta get on literal. Literal books. What makes literal better for you? Out of curiosity. In the meantime, so here's my list. I've got it sort of organized in my head as starting with foundational psychology, then moving into sort of psychology specific to the internet, and then moving into specific like techno journalism. That's the way that I'm looking at this. So we're starting off with surfing uncertainty because I want to learn predictive processing. Then I'm going to read Nudge and Thinking Fast and Slow. These are for semester one. So my like January to April books. I think I've got one more in there. Don't know yet. It needs a little work. So these, I think, if you paired like Nudge with Thinking Fast and Slow and The Power of Habit, let's say, that would be a really solid foundation for like a person who's not particularly interested in psychology to learn actionable psychology so that they can understand themselves better. And so I'm working on those. I'm gonna probably put out a video this week on the reading list. Moving forward, I'm looking at Addiction by Design, The Shallows, which is kind of like a look at the internet as opposed to reading, is what I understood from like a neuroscientist's point of view. Dopamine Nation, which I'm hesitant about because I haven't like I feel like it feeds into a bad narrative about dopamine, but I'll try it. Um, and then we're also looking and moving into the sort of techno journalism stuff. I'm looking at the attention merchants, the internet con. So we're looking at some of Cory Doctorow's stuff in shitification, and then we're capping off the year with the age of surveillance capitalism. So should be a really fun reading list. Literal isn't Amazon, and it's prettier. That's a solid argument. That's good enough for me. The connection between the ancient stories and myths and the Bible is so fascinating and my current area of academic study. Really? Chloe, you're going to have to tell me more about that because I like it's been so fun, but it's like I want to know more, but I'm trying not to allow myself to dive too deep into that topic because I'm dedicating myself to the attention economy stuff and the digital ethics stuff, and I'm like, oh, I could spend so much time on this. For reference, um, here's another thing. I'm trying to do an attention economy book, slash digital ethics book, and a canon book. So that's what I'm referring to that reading list per month. So I've got Surfing Uncertainty. Where's the focus? On the digital ethics side, and I've got Metamorphoses by Ovid on the canon side, and Metamorphoses has been a joy to read. Ovid is beautiful. Oh my god, like it feels very modern, very readable. It like just what would be where Homer I felt quite alien. Very enjoyable, but it took time. I feel like Ovid has been much more pleasant, just easy to get into. Um, Anyways, yeah. Makes a note to create a stuff I want to read list. Yes, I highly recommend, especially if you're trying to quit doom scrolling. This is, I think, the title of my next lol. Video is probably going to be something like how to read yourself out of the attention economy or something silly like that. And then I'm just going to talk about how I taught myself how to read. And really started to enjoy it, and then go through a list of my attention economy specific books, and then talk about how you should start reading fiction because I never read fiction when I was younger. I thought it was a pointless waste of time. And then I learned how to read fiction and I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. So lots and lots of fun. I think that's going to be a fun video. Okay, so that's the attention economy stuff. Let's take a look at the canon stuff. So again, this year I'm dedicating to like the Romans and Greeks in my first semester. I've divvied up my year into semesters because in my heart I am still an academic. So the first semester, that'll be January to April. That's the Romans and the Greeks. I read the Nicomachean Ethics. I'm looking throughout the Christmas break. Following that, I'm reading the Metamorphoses. I'm reading the Republic, then Aristotle's Politics, and then capping it off with forgive my pronunciation. Is it the Aeneid, the Aeneid, Virgil's epic? That's the one, and that's gonna round off the Romans and the Greeks for me because I've gone through some of Sophocles, I think. Yes, and Homer and Hesiod, so I've had fun with that. And then on after that, I'm going into the Christians. So I've got like Dante in there, Aquinas. I don't know how much of Aquinas I'm actually going to read, but we'll see. I've got Augustine's Confessions, um, along with my, just biblical reading all the way through. And then I'm capping off the final semester with Paradise Lost. So should be super fun. I am considering something by the Stoics, but I feel like Meditations has become like a tech bro thing. So I'm a little curious about that, but we'll see. Um, all right, what else we got? A lot of ancient Mesopotamian Semitic myths are the building blocks of the Jewish Bible, and exploring that is super interesting. Yes, I've been. One day I will get around to reading like the Epic of Gilgamesh and a couple of other things like that. Also, would recommend adding in some non-Western text to not reinforce that already powerful hegemony. Yes, I would agree. I think that will be next year. So I think next year I will start to develop out like the Eastern canon for myself. If there is like a specific Eastern canon or not, I'm not sure. But I will start working towards that in the following year. Should be really, really fun. Modern Chinese works are so wonderful. Ooh, that'll be fun. I've got a bunch of books on my Libro.fm wish lists, but making an actual here's what I specifically plan to read seems like a better idea. Yes, I find so it's been really helpful to me. Let's go. Boom. It's been really helpful to me. It's been a lot easier for me to build my list of reading because I have specific goals in mind. I want to better understand um, the Western canon and draw wisdom from it into my own life as I try to develop my character. And then the other thing is, and then also like the Republic and the Nicomachean ethics and politics, I think will be really good for my digital ethics stuff as well. And then the attention economy stuff, well, you all know why I want to do that. So it's easy to build the list around these goals. When I feel like maybe when your reading is goal oriented or when anything is goal oriented, it's easier to figure out what to do. Not to say that everything should be goal oriented. If you just have a bunch of books you want to read, that's good. um, Okay, what else? I'm currently doing my regular read of the Odyssey. I do a different translator each time. Ooh, that's something I wanted to do. I read is it Emily Wilson? I read hers, and I also read some passages specifically from Robert Fagel's edition of the Odyssey. And I would love to keep doing different translations just to get different bits. I found I think it's Wilson. I think it's Wilson. Might be Emily Clark. Bad with names. Um, I found her writing to be much more like straightforward, and there was a lot of like there's a little bit more brutality in the violent scenes, especially in the Iliad. Whereas Fagel's was a little bit more poetic, maybe a little more like this. I can find a word. I would love to keep looking through, and I have heard, um, Richmond Lattimore. I have heard that in the past. I don't remember where I heard about that. Um, what about it makes it more enjoyable? I've gotten much better at reading fiction by the way of audiobooks and lit RPG progressions cultivation fiction. Ooh, what is lit RPG progressions and cultivation fiction? I'm not familiar with that. Tell me more. Um, Project Gutenberg is currently doing a year-long Paradise Lost read-along, which I am planning on taking part in. Oh, would you mind here? Hold on. I don't have a way to allow people to send links, so I'm just gonna momentarily make you an admin or moderator so that you can send links. Chloe, would you mind sending the link to that? Because I might be interested. I don't know if I'm ready for it yet, but we'll see. I loved reading growing up. School beat it out of me. That's a mood. Uh, Read the entire Homer's The Odyssey for homework tonight and do a 12-page essay on it, proving you know it well on top of your other homework. Yeah, that sounds terrible. That sounds like a great way to make sure people don't enjoy what they're doing. Could be fun to go back and forth between Western and non-Western, or even ancient and contemporary. Starting with the Western, especially isolated, is just reinscribing fairly narrow, biased conception of literature. Yes, I agree. I do like it as I've been practicing patience, right, as like a as one of my virtues. um I view the dedication of the year to this topic as like a fairly small chunk, right? So moving into other things afterwards, I think is going to be a lot of fun, and I do plan on doing that alternation, just maybe on a slightly larger time scale. Emily Wilson, thank you, is who you're thinking of. She's a great translator for the general public. Fagels is on my list. Yes, I really enjoyed her translation. It was really, I mean, it's not like I have much to compare against, but I did find it very enjoyable. Nathan was like, I like fiction, and he means shit like the Greeks. Yes. Um, Nick likes to poke a little fun at me because I went from not reading at all to a bunch of productivity bros kind of reading, and then I went, it's time for fiction, and I went to classic fiction, right? I went to like epic poetry and Dostoevsky as opposed to, I don't know, Douglas Adams. I do really want to read Hitchhiker's Guide though. I read the first one. It's like a big laundry thing. My last name's Laundry, right? So the Laundry family loves Douglas Adams. And I'm kind of uninitiated in that regard. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Chloe. Yes. Yes. My girlfriend loves what's that series? Inspector Gamache. Yeah. Fun mystery novels. Okay, how do I? Oh, probably just opened. Nice. How to read Paradise Lost. Hell yeah. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, so I've been rambling about stuff for a while. I do actually want to take a poke at the Zima board. So let's talk a little bit of tech, but I do. I'm always torn. Part of me wants to do two streams, but I also know there's no way that I can survive doing two streams. So here we are. Okay, so feel free to keep talking with me about literature and fun things like that while we do this. I will happily bounce back and forth. Our goal today is just to get the Zimaboard 2 up and running and poke about Zima OS and maybe see how the app works. That's our goal. So I want to show a couple of things off. So nice. We got a cool little card. I'm not going to read through this whole thing on stream, but I do really like this device so far. Just like by the vibes of it. What do we got? Douglas Adams is great. Indeed. Cultivation Lit is based more in Chinese culture, people trying to level themselves up, like Taoists trying to achieve immortality and greater internal power. Interesting. Progression Lit is similar to Cultivation, but less rooted in Chinese culture. Cool. Visited the Gosser Brewery last year. The beer Douglas Adams was drunk from on a meadow in Innsbruck I also visited when coming up with the idea for the Hitchhiker's Guide. That's super cool. Run Nix OS on it. Yeah, you would say that. Okay. Zima OS looks so good. If I didn't go full unified, the NAS setup looks interesting. Yes, I agree. I'm very excited about it. So this is the Zima board, right? And it is like a big Raspberry Pi. Now, there are some really nice things about it. So first off, specs wise, there's some interesting, one of the interesting things that stands out to me is the very low amount of internal storage. And I think that's a really good choice for this because it lines it up with the Raspberry Pi and treats it more like a compute blade that you can add cool things to as opposed to a mini PC like, hold on, gang. Ah, like one of these B-Links, right? Because one of these B-Links is going to come with 512 gigabytes of internal SSD, but with no potential for expansion. This, on the other hand, has a lot of room for expansion. So it just has, let's see if we can do that, two SATA ports right there. So you can just hook up some hard drives. And they even sent me this like little hard drive rig. So we'll see if we have time to go through that today. Um, Aside from that, it's got two 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports, which is nice, and just right other like display and stuff. The last bit that's really cool is this PCI 3.0 slot, so you can actually load up a graphics card in here, and if you want to do like LLM stuff locally, this might be a really cool way to do that. I probably will get around to that at some point this year. Um, so, really excited. As for processing power, it's got the N150, and you all know how much I love the N100. The N150 is just a souped up N100, so this thing will do a lot of compute. It'll run Jellyfin, multiple 4K streams, probably handle like you could probably, and I think that's the video I'll make about this. I think you could probably run your whole home lab off this. Um, so like Home Assistant in their VM because they have VM software for it, and then run a bunch of Docker things for the rest of your home lab. Stack the hard drives on top of this in their little hard drive rig, and then you've got a home lab that's like this big. So that's I think will be really cool. And then the app that they've been developing allows for really easy backing up of data without having to set up Tailscale and stuff like that. So if you're, the sysadmin for your household, you can get the app installed on a number of phones. They don't have to deal with Tailscale. There's no VPN nonsense to deal with. And you can just back up all of their data automatically to your home lab. And then you've got like home photos backed up, regularly dealt with, and people are just still snapping photos as regular. That's the dream that they're pitching. And I trust them. Like, I think they've got a really cool thing going here, and I'm really excited to see how that plays out. I have high hopes for this. I'm very excited. Raspberry Pis are cheaper than mini PCs again, from Jeff Geerling. I love Jeff Geerling. Like just a technical hero of mine. So just to put wow, words. I will always sort of defer to people like Jeff Geerling in the space of tech, right? If I say something in contradiction with like Jeff or Network Chuck or Jim's Garage, right? I trust them more than I trust me. And then on the space of like philosophy online, right? People like John Vervaeke, Jared Henderson, I trust them. But I do still think this is going to be really cool. So 2.5 gigabit. Zima does give the apple of home labbing. Like that's kind of what they're going for, and I like it. I like it. Hope you won't have a hard time with it. The documentation can be kind of bad at times. AI can help there. Okay, cool. Good to know. Oh, for Nix, right. I figured how to run Home Assistant with full thread matter MDNS support in Docker. Yeah, you're brilliant for that one. Okay, so we've got our Zimaboard. We're going to take a look at what else we've got with it. Again, I'll be doing a whole video. We're sort of just having a good time tonight, chatting about it. I'll be signing off at 6. But yeah, should be fun. So they go over some stuff, basically everything I covered here. They have a little QR code for the Zima client, which is available on Windows and Mac, as well as iOS and Android. Unfortunately, no official Linux application yet. I'm hoping they do something about that. Because, I mean, it's home lab hardware. People are going to be running Linux. But still, I mean, if they do like Samba setup for me, I don't really need a client, right? If I'm on Linux, I can just be a Linux user and deal with it. I don't need the client. Whereas if I'm on Windows or Mac OS, I do want the comfort of a GUI and all of that. So reasonable choice if you ask me. I also will say, so they sent this to me for free. They were very explicit about the fact that they don't need to see the video before I post it, that they like are comfortable with me saying what I say about the product, all of that jazz. It was very transparent, very respectful. I was also very clear that I'm not going to recommend a product that I don't trust. So I figured I should make that clear. Okay, so accessories. Do you watch Hardware Haven at all? I've seen some of his videos, but I don't watch regularly. I think the point of Jeff's latest video, I haven't watched it because I'm watching the stream while doing the shoulder rehab, is that for a while, mini PCs were cheaper or better bang for your buck. Yes, I completely agree. That was definitely the case, and that's why I own so many mini PCs. Just saw some videos on the new Snapdragon X2 ARM chips, and all the comments were asking about Linux support. Yes. I mean, like, right? Like, you can't put Mac OS on it, and Windows sucks. Like, of course we're putting Linux on it, man. Okay, so I think, well, we've got a little fan. That's cool. We got our power adapter. Oh, screwdriver. Nice. Power adapter. And what is this? SATA E stuff. Cool. I would honestly be surprised if the Pi's caught up in price to performance. Because the N100 has just been such a hit. Maybe RAM costs have gotten ridiculous. Oh, this thing's got 16 gigs of RAM, by the way. They do sell an 8 gig version, but I mean, honestly, if you're running a bunch of Docker containers, go for the 16, right? Oh, they also gave me a like an affiliate link. So if any of you want like 15 bucks off and you're interested in buying a Zimaboard too, I will. I've got a link and I will send that over. So let me see. Yes, here we go. Let's go ahead and put that in the description. How do I do that? Does anybody know how YouTube works? Holy, there's a button I can use to just send you ads? That's terrible. Oh, cool. I didn't realize there was a pop-out dashboard. How do I set the description to this video? Windows sucks indeed. Okay, but for real, how do I set the description to this video? Ah, here we go. Okay, cool. So I've updated that. In the description of the stream now, there's the affiliate code and all of that. If you use the affiliate code, you'll get 15 bucks off or something, and then I get some commission. So full disclaimer, I want that to be very clear, so that I can't like accidentally have perverse incentives or whatever that's called. You all know that I will make money off of you buying one using my code, but also you'll save 15 bucks. So hopefully it works out as a friendly thing through the lot of us. Make sure not to use honey or any weird coupon extension. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we've got our power. We've got our thing. What else do we have? They also sent me this DisplayPort adapter because of the ports on the Zimaboard. The Zimaboard is very small, so that's going to be our display fella. Luckily, I've got like the whatchamacallit, the test bench still set up. So there's that, and then get my books out the way. And then they sent me this rig for setting up the Zimaboard with hard drives. And I haven't really looked at it yet, so we'll see. Well, I'm good. There's so much new news about how terrible honey has been. Yes, I've heard seriously awful things about honey. What the heck happened there? Okay, we got screws and things. Some brackety stuff. Maybe that's what we'll do today. We'll just set this up. We'll just like stack it. And then I think next stream we'll continue playing around because I want to look at the app and all of that stuff. Should be super cool. If you can't tell, I'm really excited. I missed you guys. Okay, so again, really just nice looking and feeling hardware, right? Like, I don't know. It's got. I admire the consistency of their aesthetic, right? I know that's not something that matters to everybody, but genuinely, it's nice for things to look good, you know? Okay, so do I have instructions for how to build this? Probably not. I mean, probably somewhere, but I don't have them with me. Okay. So, what exactly is this cabling? PCI Express stuff? Oh, okay. This chassis is quite nice. So this looks like it sort of allows me to move the PCI Express over. So if this doesn't slot in nicely, which I think, how does that work? I'm not sure how this sits. Let's take a look at the website. Yes, I think you're right, Michael. I I think what I'll do with this is probably run just two hard drives on it, and run them mirrored if Zima OS allows me to do that. I imagine it will. Um, so that should be cool. Let's go look at Zima accessories. Am I on the right screen? No, you're all just looking at the side of my face. Cool. Um, okay, so this is what I have with me. Cool. Anything else in here that's interesting? Okay, cool. And then what's this? Okay, Nathan, now's not the time. Okay, so how does for Zimablade and Raspberry Pi Dual 3.5? Hmm. Okay. Am I? Is this what I got? I think so. That looks about right. I don't have this tray part though. Um, get another case and PCIe adapter for more SATA ports, and you can probably yes. Sorry, I already read that. Question: Zima OS versus Umbrel. I'm actually setting up Umbrel on my PC, but now I'm curious and open to other options. Yeah. So it looks like Zima is more complete in terms of features. Uh, Umbrel has some benefits. It is completely open source, where some of the code is closed source. That's my understanding currently, um, with Zima, but it is still mostly open. Like it's based on Casa OS, and yeah, there's a lot more features. Okay, I see. I see. I just don't have this top bit. So it's more like this. Do these line up with screw holes? Yes, they do. Okay. So it looks like the Zimaboard sits like that. Let me see. So there's screw holes on the bottom of the Zimaboard, and it should sit like this onto the chassis. Nice. Okay. I want my stuff to look cool so when my family that isn't tech savvy sees it, they think I'm actually good at IT and software engineering. Agreed. Okay, so I need to go harvest some hard drives. Okay, hard drives harvested. Uh, so we've got these are just some leftover drives that we're going to use to test stuff. This is these. If you're building an actual NAS out of this thing, then you're going to want probably better drives. What is this bracket for? I don't know. But these will do. These will do for our test scenario. Where's my screwdriver? Oh, how was your winter break, everybody? I, I yapped for so long and I didn't ask any of you how you were doing. You'd think by now I'd just like have all my gear ready before stream and I'd, you know, do all of that kind of thing. But instead you have this nonsense. I honestly don't even know how to get these out. What in the heck? Okay, we're not using this tool. PCIe doesn't require external power for a GPU. I think it will. So you would need to find a nice housing for the external power supply. Um, but how hard could that be, right? Suppose pretty hard, but still. I don't know where my actual screwdriver is. I'll find that for next stream. Hopefully this will do. Okay. By the way, I think you're on the wrong OBS scene. Ah, yes. I was okay. Let's try this. I do have this new setup over here. Well, not that new. But let's try this. Okay. Nice. Okay. So, ah, ba- battery. Okay, one sec. What generation is it? PCI 3. So if you're using it for like local LLM stuff, sorry, one sec. If you're using it for local LLMs, then I think PCI 3 won't do anything with performance, but it will slow down how fast a model loads. So your time to first response will be a little slower, but after that, no big deal. That's my understanding right now. Does anyone else? Can anyone else confirm or deny that? Up to 10 watts can be carried on a short PCI 3.0 slot like this one, but in practice, a 10-watt DGPU would probably be less powerful than staying on the iGPU. Yes, agreed. Winter break has been good, but also busy. Wouldn't have minded a week more to chill. Agreed. I was extremely busy, but it was a very nice time uh, with family. Okay, there we go. So let's put this out the way. Assuming the whole model is in VRAM, I think it's correct. Okay, cool. I don't I mean I haven't done a lot of local LLM stuff, but when I have not I've only really worked with models that all fit on the VRAM. Okay, how's that? So can I zoom out a little bit? Oh, that's in. All right, that's where we're going. All right, cool. Now where's my nonsense? You still rocking Omarchi? I am indeed. I haven't had time to. Oh, that's terrible. I haven't had time to like switch to anything, nor do I care. Um, Omarchi is sufficient. Oh, I did not know that, Michael. That is pretty cool. So, what kind of home lab projects is everyone else up to? Plus, I know you got that UV NAS a little while ago. How's that thing working out for you? Okay. Well, PCI 3 equals 16 gigabits per second. So when you SATA When you use SATA drives with 6 gigabits per second, doesn't really matter, I think. Okay. I want to switch to Linux this year fully. Looking at CachyOS potentially. Sucks how for gaming I need to keep Windows around because anti-cheat. Agreed. I'm really hopeful that um, the Gabe Cube will make a difference. Also, let's see. Maybe this. No. Scene 2? That's terrible. All right. We'll just do this. I'm hoping the Gabe Cube makes a difference. Oh, that's okay. I mean, Steam, Steam in general, right? Like, has been really improving Linux gaming. Uh, so I'm hoping that continues. Nix plus framework for the upcoming semester. Ooh, that's the cool kids combo right there. Oh, sorry guys, I'm like off screen. I switched to Omarchy over winter break on my old laptop to try it out and mess around with it. It's my first experience with using Arch, and I'm loving Omarchy. So cool. Hell yeah. Yeah, honestly, the only thing that I've been frustrated with is DaVinci Resolve on Linux, which is my editing tool, my editing software. It's not great experience, but I'm not sure if that experience would be better on like Mac OS or Windows. So yeah. Okay. Love Nix for server stuff. Tried it on my desktop. Just felt like a lot of overhead. Where for server it's more set and forget it. Yes, agreed. Yeah, I don't think I would go Nix on a desktop. Okay. The Jeff Geerling video basically says that since SSD and memory prices have increased, a Raspberry Pi comparably spec'd to a mini PC is now the same price. Interesting. That kind of makes sense. That's kind of, I guess, what I expected. I am in the thinking about it phase of building a server for Jellyfin. Hell yeah, Chloe. I Okay, Chloe. I mean, I have a hunch that you're a physical books person, but if you are building a home lab for Jellyfin, then I will also make sure that I get to a video about ebook management, just in case. But I personally am a physical books person. Still have a lot of ebooks though. Okay, so here we are. So we've got this enclosure. I guess these just slide in. Hell yeah. Yeah. Just like that. I recently bought a Raspberry Pi 5 in the hopes of using it for my bachelor's thesis. Oh, tell me more about that. What are you using it for? I tried to get a Pi set up for cheap, but getting the mini PC was less expensive and complicated. Agreed. Okay, so that's that. Where'd my Okay, so here's my Zimaboard. I guess we'll probably hook up the Zimaboard first before we get these drives in. So, but cool that they slot in. I'm absolutely a physical books person, but there are a lot of books that are only accessible in PDF ebook form, so that would be superb. Okay, yes. I mean, I found the same thing. Like there are times when you're looking for this one book, and it's like an academic source, and you can't find it anywhere, and then or except it's like $80 one random place, and it'll take 3 months to ship. Um, and that obviously is not exactly conducive to completing whatever academic endeavor you've got in mind in any reasonable amount of time. So fair enough. What out of curiosity, what like citation manager do you use, if any at all? Okay. Okay. So I think what we do with this is unscrew these fellas because it looks like they go there, and then we screw those up from the bottom like that. Um, okay, what else? I'm very new to home labbing, but I have a coworker friend who is very experienced with it who's helping me with it. Awesome. I'm currently looking to set up my first NAS. Become a huge fan of audiobooks so I can read while I exercise. Nice. Okay. So yeah, I think I know what's happening here, and we've got this little hex screw guy that I think takes these off. Yes. Nice. Zotero. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Zotero person as well. I'm just going to self-host some open source password managers, and my thesis is basically on just comparing them, including some memory analysis, among other things. That sounds really cool. So looking at like Vault Warden and things like that. I used Word's built-in manager for the longest time, but I'm playing around with Zotero and also want to be able to store that data myself. Yes, agreed. I mean, Zotero is not bad. Like their sync model, it's not too expensive. But just for the the data privacy of it all, it is nice to know that it's yours. Currently, I have a Raspberry Pi 5 that's set up as my TV as a multimedia device. It took a bit of configuration with hardware acceleration and overclocking, but it actually works great now. Very cool. Okay. So I guess this comes off. Cool. All right. So still, we're just gonna take this. Like that. And get the screw holes to line up. Okay, that looks good. I refuse to pay. Okay, fair. Are these the same length? No, they are slightly longer, which makes sense. Okay, great. So, funny story. As some of you know, I have my TV hooked up to my PC through a long HDMI cable. Well, technically, the PC goes to the AVR, right? Um, and whenever my girlfriend turns on the TV, even if the computer isn't selected by as like the active input, it like flashes all of my whatchamacallit, all of my active monitors. So there have been a couple of times when I'm gaming with the fellas, playing whatever games we're up to, and in the middle of like an intense moment, my screen just flashes. So I'm probably gonna have to come up with a solution for that at some point. Yeah, it totally makes sense. I used to do music a lot on bike rides. I've set up Vault Warden a while ago and now setting up SSO via Authelia to give access to my friends. That's dope. That's very cool. Let me know how that goes. It's fair for me. It made my cardio so much easier because I've been doing shoulder recovery if I can read while doing it. Fair. Yeah, I find it really difficult to like run on a treadmill. Like when I'm running outside, I have no trouble. But just sort of running, no audio, no nothing. But when I'm running on a treadmill, there's no stimulation from, the nice greenery or anything like that. And I find myself just bored to death. All right, tell me that doesn't look nice, right? That's pretty good. Okay. Cool. Uh, I also did some long overdue housekeeping over the holidays. Routers, and VPN are on OpenSense now. OpenWart only stays on access points. I was supposed to do that. I was supposed to finally set up my OpenSense router, and then I didn't. So that's one of the things I haven't done. But actually, plus, maybe you can help answer a question for my dad and I. So my dad has pointed out that OpenSense seems to have some way of connecting with other OpenSense routers remotely. We're not sure how. We just have heard that it is the case. Seems to be somewhere in the docs that he's found. Do you have any idea what that is and how that might work? Because it would be really cool if we could easily get my dad and I on the same VPN. Okay, so we want this way. Did I say that doesn't look nice? My bad. I think it looks great. Oops. I think I meant to say, doesn't that look nice? And instead I say, that doesn't look nice. Nicely done, Nathan. There you go. Like site to site? I think so, yes. I hate running on a treadmill because it always feels like I'm about to fall off. Sorry. All right, we're going the thumb screw approach here. Oh, come on. These hard drives are not... There we go. Okay, so what do we got? Run Sunshine server on your PC and Moonshine client on Apple TV or something like that to wireless stream your PC to your TV. So I tried that. I was doing Steam whatever Steam's streaming equivalent thing is. But I'm greedy and I wanted 4K HDR at 120 hertz, which can't do over streaming. At least I haven't. At least you couldn't on the Steam solution. So I needed to move to HDMI there. Okay. Some of the new e-ink. Sorry, one sec. Some of the new... Oh, okay. These need to be loosened just a touch. And then I can give this a little bit more wiggle room. There we go. Okay. Some of the new e-ink non-Amazon readers are looking pretty nice. Maybe one day when I decide to purge all my physical books inevitably, Tailscale baby. Okay, it's two separate statements. Yes, Tailscale is a solution I'm happy to explore. I just thought there was something that was like, I don't know, interesting and native to whatchamacallit, to OpenSense. But if Plus says, I think you mean their clustering feature, but this is more for high availability. What you can do is setting up what would S to S stand for? Site to site VPN, but OpenVPN on OpenSense is notoriously slow. Okay, cool. So maybe look at WireGuard, also built in on OpenSense. Okay, thank you. Running WireGuard server on both ends and a client to each other, and some routing could work. OpenSense has built-in WireGuard support now. Okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense, and that would give me the opportunity to learn a little bit about WireGuard, and then maybe it could be a lot of fun to do some like network design discussion with my dad, because he's done a lot more of that kind of thing than I have, so I could learn a little bit about separating out subnets and that kind of thing. As you all know, my networking skills are not the greatest. Running WireGuard, yes, okay. Or just a server on your OpenSense and give him a client config if he just needs to connect to you and no, not the other way around. My ideal situation, I think, would be for it to feel like it's just one network. So to have like very little distinction between the two would be really cool. I don't know if that's what he wants. So I suppose we'll end up talking about it. Um, but that would be nice, especially because like he's better at networking and certainly when it comes to hardware, and DOS. But when it comes to Linux and containers and stuff, that's kind of my jam. So just being able to share expertise instantly, uh, and treat it like one network would be really quite nice for both of us. For reference, OpenVPN on OpenSense over a symmetric 50 megabit public line gave me a throughput of 15. Same thing on OpenWord, much faster. Interesting. Okay. All right. So I'm loving how compact this is. I'm going to switch cameras so we can take a look at this. Right? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, so now we can do. There's. How do I? What do you? How do you? What, what am I doing here? I'm gonna guess. Sorry, just sorting out, plugging things in. Ah, I'm struggling here. Um, is there an N150 in it? Yes, there is. It is cute, right? Like I kind of love this. Okay. Um, Amazed how small will be interesting to stress test it out a bit. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing's, I'm pretty sure this is just like solid aluminum, right? And these fins are going to do a pretty good job of sucking up heat, right? Multi jellyfin. Yeah. Yeah. Cable management is always the time drag. Yes. Yeah. Well, there's my cable management. So it's not, better cable managers have existed. Would be really nice, like just to maximize the sort of prettiness of this, to get some of the, you ever seen those custom PC builds where they've got these nicely braided cables cut to exactly the right length? If you could get some really nicely braided cables cut to exactly the right length, make them silver and black, and like that whole thing would look really nice. That would be a solid router slash NAS. That's what I'm saying, right? Like this is a nice device. Okay, so we don't have long, but I'm gonna see if we can plug this in and get going. It works. It works indeed. Um, I think we've got just enough time this stream to plug this thing in, boot it up. You'll see it boot up. We'll see what that's like, and then next stream we can get to building things with it. Because I think what I'm gonna do, like, so maybe if I start yapping, we won't have time. Oh well. I think what I want to do, because you all know I've been doing the Kubernetes thing, and that has made it like next to impossible to actually do the self-hosting videos, because figuring out how to get something to work on Kubernetes takes me too long, right? Just too long. And then I can't do like, here's how great Nextcloud is as a video, because I would have to figure out how to get Nextcloud working on Kubernetes, and I was exhausted most of last year. So I'm thinking I'll probably just spin up a VM on my Proxbox for Docker composing, and then I'm probably gonna run. I mean, I think I'll actually just run Zima OS as like one of, if not my main, home labbing devices. Um, at least for a while. Because I would like to see. I think it's something that I'll be able to really recommend to a lot of people. Um, so I want to do that. Okay, let's go back here. My okay, what do we got? I have a master's degree in networking, but it was all theory about protocols and network layers and stuff. So I've been lacking on the physical part of it. It's nice to finally learn more about that. Oh, nice. That's really cool. I knew. Well, I took a course from one of the network guys at UFT, and oh, the theory gets tough. Very interesting. Had some fun with jellyfins transcoding. I read the source code. It's a bit ancient. Short GOP, hostile to B frames, very heavy on IP, and the bit rates you set are targets, not up to. Like it's made for H.264 players made 24 years ago, 25 years ago. I don't understand most of that. I'll be honest. Um, Why do you use Kubernetes over Docker? Mostly to learn Kubernetes. I wanted to learn Kubernetes because it'll be good for my career. Also, Kubernetes is cool, but yeah, definitely. Like, if I just want to have a home lab that runs, not the way to go. All right. I might be out of outlets. Let's see. Never mind. Okay, so we're putting Professor X away. Let's see if we can get this ready. So, in short, they squeeze all dynamics out of the video plus blow up bit rates. Oh, not cool. Not cool, gang. Okay, we're plugged in. Let's see. All right, that it just spun up as soon as I put power in it. Gotta love that. And then I'm gonna get this plugged in. We'll give it Ethernet. That might be a good idea, probably. Probably this one. Okay. Sorry, I know you all can't see very much right now. This is my little video solution. And then I gotta swap out this camera. This. Okay. All right. And let's see what that does. Not much yet. The hard drives have spun up. Interesting. I'm not sure. Not sure what's happening right now. I really got to clean this up. I'm gonna turn this guy off. Let's see. If you only have one machine in your home lab, to me, I have zero experience with Kubernetes. Kubernetes seems pointless unless you're trying to learn the tech. Yes. With one machine, definitely was not worth it. Kubernetes is often a solution looking for a problem. That said, if you really need it or just want to learn Kubernetes, it's great to play with. Yeah, that's pretty much the position I was in. Why are we not getting display? Oh, you know what? I've seen this before, where like a computer doesn't boot up properly unless it's got a keyboard plugged in. So maybe we've got one of those situations here. Probably not going to need a mouse, but hey. And then we're just going to do the old. Okay, let's see how that goes. Anything? Oh, okay, gang. This is my fault, not Zima. Haha! There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, what do we got? Um, there are some really large orgs or places with very complex software that need the high levels of container orchestration that Kate's offers. Yes. Um, but lots of software shops are using Kate's because Big Tech Co uses it. Yes. Yes. I think Sarah has a very similar thought about Kubernetes. And that sounds about right to me. Like, I mean, I don't, the thing is, I don't know, right? But it does seem something, it strikes me as interesting. I want to explore, but I'm open to whatever I find once I get there. Old IBM PCs had this keyboard not found, press F2 to continue error, but it needed to. Keyboard not found, press F2 to continue. But it needed to assign an IRQ to PS2 ports back then. Okay. Cool. So 10.88.111.37. We're gonna go here. And I would be pretty happy if this is where we cut today's video or stream. Hello. Okay, this is nice. Are we on the right screen? Yes. Cool. Create local account. Nathan. I feel like Kate's is a thing that you don't need until you need it. Then once you need it, you really want / need it. Then again, I'm no expert. I feel like I've met very few people who claim to be Kubernetes experts. Oh, I like this. Start from files, start from App Store. Combine hard drives, manage assets and data. Between ZimaCube and your local PC or Mac, Zima client enabling automatic switching between network ports, Thunderbolt, and remote access while enhancing connection stability. Now, I'm not sure what that does. Remote access is cool. Peer drop, nice. Okay, we're gonna deal with that later because I'm on Linux right now and they don't have a Zima Linux client. So what I do want to do is do some storage. So let's see. Does it see my drives? Start. Combine use. Use RAID to combine your multiple disk setup and set up data protection according to your needs. Single use. So I'm going to do this even though, why are these grayed out? Interesting. Okay, I like that they start by recommending a reasonable, safe solution for 2 hard drives. That's nice. Next. Great. Okay. Now, I know we're losing a lot. It doesn't really matter right now because these drives are just for test. Cool. I don't know. Main store. Or let's call it the Z store. Cool. RAID 5 with 4 disks is grayed out for a reason. Even in big tech, it's more on the list of checkboxes to tick in middle management. It's less used than one might think. Interesting. So, what would you think? What would you recommend if I'm trying to become essential, or at least very useful as something like I'm part time a systems administrator, part time a software engineer. Is this CFS under the hood? I actually don't know. I hope so. Um, cool. So that's quite nice. We've got ZStore, and then I can open files mounted as a local disk. That we'll play around with that. Maybe I'll have my Mac for next stream, and we can play around with some of that. So I mean, we've got storage. It does store. What is import? Oh, cool. So I can import from Google Drive. Nice. I wish you could import from iCloud, but I guess if you have your Mac, you can import from iCloud by using iCloud storage as if it were local. That's cool. Okay. So, yeah, one of the things I'm thinking about doing here is running Home Assistant OS in the Zima virtual machine because Home Assistant OS is a lot nicer than the Docker, unless you're Nick and you've figured out how to crack that code. But I do like how quickly and easily storage was was managed. That was pretty cool. Um, we can check network. This is nice, and then we can go through the App Store, and it's got your usual App Store stuff. I do want to start playing with Nextcloud, so I think we'll poke at that, and then we'll call it a stream. And yeah, dude, this is a nice little device. At the moment, managing hyperscalers in a cost-effective manner is in demand. Hmm. Okay, what is a hyperscaler? Step one. Like, yeah. I think Kate's is a good skill to learn if you're in learning mode. I'll ask someone at work about specific whys because I'm learning more about it myself. Then I'll share in Discord. Thank you. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. So we're going to have a lot of fun poking around with remote access, playing around with the Zima client, all of that. That's going to be next stream. But backup. Try to use the 3-2-1 backup strategy. 3 data copies, 2 storage media, 1 offsite to back up your most important data. Like, there's just so many things built into Zima OS that make it friendly to new users, and also build in like and sort of nudge them towards good practices that I really like. How often do you do these streams? Can you do them more often? I do them once a week. So I do them on Mondays, 4 p.m. Eastern time. I can't do more than that though. I've tried and I get exhausted. Okay. We don't want that. That's for sure. Does their next cloud not? How do I check their Docker Compose? Okay, it looks like their default Nextcloud, I may be wrong, doesn't come with a database for these. I'm not sure though. I can look into it a little bit more. In the meantime, we're just going to stop. I'm also really looking forward to Peerdrop. Okay. Especially if it works on Linux. I hope so. Access the following address with another device. Remote access. Drop files to another device anytime, anywhere. I'm so looking forward to that. Okay. Azure, Amazon, Google, Hetzner. Okay, so any of the cloud thingies make sense. I have a Home Assistant VM, but I don't have any smart home devices. I'm all on smart lights right now. So I can do like, hey Siri, make the lights blue, which ferries them through Home Assistant. Oh, y'all didn't see that. There we go. I am planning this year, like I want to do a lot more home labbing in like less of an educational way. Like because when I started this, I was mostly learning ZFS, I was learning NFS, I was learning Linux and Kubernetes and things like that. But this year, I just want to get my home lab. I want to self-host more. So less home labbing, more self-hosting. Um, so another thing I want to do is get Home Assistant voice running so I can get rid of Siri. Should be cool. Okay, that's pretty much it for today. But I'm stoked. This is gonna be really really fun to keep working with. Where's YouTube? Okay, so that that's that for now. Uh, I'm pretty happy with this so far. I'm really looking forward to playing around with more Zima OS features because it just feels like so much of the self-hosting stuff done for you. So I'm probably going to end up, if I really like Zima OS, and I think I will, I think, and if there's like ways that I can still run custom Docker Compose stuff, and I think there is, I may just run Zima as my main like self-hosting setup, and then do and then keep my home lab for tinkering with Linuxy things. I think that'll be my approach because I mean I've got this really nice what is it? It's not Ugreen. I don't know something. I've got this really nice NAS that I'm using, and that's how I do my editing. That's where my YouTube videos are. It's also where Jellyfin is right now. And then I've got my like i7 mini PC, which is just running Proxmox, so I have all the juice in the world. But I'm pretty sure this little Zimaboard is going to cover the whole home lab. And if I can, sorry, I'm looking for focus. If I can build that, and then sort of maybe also build out in a VM with like a Docker Compose setup and like all of the other stuff, I would love to be able to do a comparison of like, here's how much work you have to do if you're going to Docker Compose all of it manually, set up traffic, set up tail scale and things like that, versus Zima gets me, and I guess cron jobs and stuff like that to get data back and forth and all of that. Um, should be interesting. Think it'll be good. Okay. We use Kate's on a few projects at work and a small team made up of pretty experienced folks. It's not being used just because it's being used because someone's getting value from it. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, when experts choose Kate's, I you know, in the end, industry prepares for cheap compute in 2 years. Like we had a lot of dark fiber after the dot-com bubble burst. After AI, data centers will be cheap. That's an interesting idea. Huh. Well, wow. I wonder what people will do with all of that compute. Because that's an interesting idea, right? Like, I mean, I'm not like a full anti AI person, but I do believe that we're in a bubble, right? So I think the dot com bubble is a really good analogy, right? In that there's some useful stuff, and so, a lot of useful stuff to be discovered, but a lot of crap on top right now. So I do expect there to be a pop, and then what happens with all of that, extra compute? I hope it doesn't pop before I get a chance at a full time job though. That would be not good for me. Anyways, okay. Anything else? Yes. If you're on the smartphone side of things, right? Uh, I've also got the Sleek phone here. I think I've talked about this briefly before. I'm doing some fixes on this so that I can start daily driving it. I had one little glitch that the team at Sleek have been very kind to give me instructions for how to fix. So I will move to daily driving this. It's really cool. It's a really cool device. The only thing I don't like about it, and this is a personal preference, it's not an actual knock on the phone, is this is embarrassing, but I got little hands. I got little hands and I like little phones. And the Pixel 7 is a big phone. Fills my whole pocket. I've been on the iPhone 12 mini for a long time. And then before that I had the Samsung S10e, which is also specifically a small phone. The Pixel 7's so big. Anyways, I do think this is going to be really cool. I'm looking forward to to setting it up. Okay. Chloe says, we're in an AI summer, but this isn't the first time, and an AI winter is coming at some point, most likely. Yes, agreed. It'll be like the Xeon CPU and AliExpress. People using data center hardware for home lapping is insane. AI winter is coming. Please, AI bubble be gone soon. Indeed. Okay, gang. This was fun. This was a good stream. I had a lot of fun just chatting with you all. It's been really fun catching up. What are some quick things? Is there anything else that I really want to chat about? Thinking about switching to literal for my books. Yeah. And then also thinking about this Paradise Lost read for 2026. Could be really cool. Cool. Okay. I will catch you all next week. I will try to put out a video this week, but I mean, anyone who's been here for long enough knows that often I say, I'm going to put out a video this week, and then... But this month is quite busy, because basically what I want to do is like reading list video this week, smartphone, turn your iPhone dumb the week after, then sleek phone video doing a comparison, right? Because I want to show off, because there are some things that you can't do to your own smartphone that the sleek phone does. And so I wanted to make the video of dumb phones, like dumbifying your smartphone first, to show how the sleek phone takes it a step further. I think that would do it justice. And then I want to round the month off with the Zima OS video. And that'd be a pretty nice month of videos. Could be good. Hopefully. Okay. All right, gang. That is all. Thank you all so much for your time and attention. It's been really fun. I'll catch y'all next week.